Hey, Lee Wolf here. Welcome to Tech Face On. We are live on this, beautiful here Friday. And today, as always, Mr. Richie Bello is sitting by my side. And we have a special guest today, Mike Onslow, who is with a pretty informative, pretty cool podcast called Artificial Antics, but you could find it at antics.tv. How you guys doing?
Good. Doing great. Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. Really appreciate the opportunity to have a good discussion with you guys.
Cool. How's it going, Richie?
Great. Everything's good.
Good. I know there's going to be a little bit of noise in the background there with Richie because he's got all kinds of teams of people coming in and out today. He's always working with the world. So cool stuff. Before we get rolling on the show here, just going to run a quick promo for Shop Smart Autos on the SSA VIN retention report. Be right back with you. Before you spend another dime on marketing and advertising, inspect what you expect. The SSA VIN retention report from Shop Smart Autos is the answer. Do you know your retention status? You might be losing hundreds of customers a month, but what if you could keep just a few more? Each retained customer means thousands in revenue, adding up to millions per year. The SSA VIN retention report is the inspection tool you've been looking for. Find out what you're missing before it costs you. All right, that's the SSA VIN retention report from Shop Smart Autos. You'd be crazy not to check it out. It's a very powerful software tool. And so, Michael, give us a little background on where you're coming from, how you got here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been working in the technology field for about 25 years. I started with, back in 2000 with my dad. Actually, he called me, lived in New York. He said, Mike, get a computer. We're going into the computer business. And so what that meant was actually that he had learned how to design really basic websites and wanted to show me how to do it and wanted to build a business together. So went out to New York, him and his girlfriend, she was a graphic designer. He was more of a tech guy. Who used to be a contractor, by the way, like building houses and all kinds of stuff. So totally different mind shift from my dad, right? But he's a really sharp guy. And so he really got me into the field. We had a consulting company for about 5 years, did a bunch of stuff. And then I ended up getting an actual 40-hour week IT job in 2005. Did a lot of, software development, a lot of design, like website design stuff. Loved it. I'm a creative person, right? I really like creating. And then, over the years, I ended up at my current employer, 2013, where I started as an application developer, right? A lot of creative. That's Clarity Voice, a communications company. And, building out, I think my first project was like an analytics dashboard, right? Which was for our customers, which was a great, fun project. Really enjoyed it. I've always liked data. Just kind of, through the years was able to find a really there's no other job I've been at, especially in technology, right? There's 10 years, 10, 11 years. That's crazy, right? But they had a really good path, right? And so, application developer, principal software engineer, director, CTO, right? And that's where I'm at right now. Love it. Love my day job. But I also really like, running the podcast. And how the podcast got started is my co-host Rico actually, we've gamed together, like online game for years. He's in Maine. And, especially when generative AI was coming out, I was like end of 2022 or whatever it was. I was like, man, this is crazy, right? Like, it's a whole different thing. Like, I knew about computer vision, had played around with some stuff, but I said, this is different, right? ChatGPT and all this stuff. I said, this is different. So I was online playing with Rico, and I said, hey, have you tried any of these new AI tools? And he said, oh man, no, those tools are evil. He said, Pam, my girlfriend who's in marketing, she's trying to get me to use stuff. I'm like, no, I'm not touching it. I'm not touching it. So I was like, okay, and I was like, hey, let me ask you a question. Like, what do you do in your job every day that you hate doing the most, right? And so he told me the thing, and I was like, you could actually automate that away with AI just like this. Gave him an ABC, and he was like, whoa. And then I was like, but we're playing a little more. And I said, what do you hate doing second most, right? Because I'm like all about like figuring out how to do things. Like you don't have to automate everything, but there's a lot of things where, I have a talk that I do called Automating the Mundane. And I've done it 4 or 5 times at different conferences recently. And I believe in it, right? Like I don't want people to be doing like repetitive, meaningless work. I want to help people to free themselves up and their businesses up to do relational and not transactional work, right?
Right.
So that's how that. So then I was like, hey, like we should talk about it. We talked about it. I said this would be a good podcast because you've got a technology guy and you've got a business more. He's more on the business side, but he was a skeptic, right? So I was like, that's that good like back and forth view where not everybody is like saying the exact same thing. And so the podcast was born. It's been going strong for a couple of years now. And Rico's taken a step back because he's got some other things with his family that he wants to do and other goals. And I'm like, I could have dropped it and done a whole thing and rebranded. I'm like, and somebody actually is Wendy Reeves, who introduced me to you, Richie, said, no, man, you're Mike at Antics TV. She said, you should do that and keep being that. And I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep doing that. Right. So that's kind of how I got to where we are right now, guys.
Awesome. Awesome. And so in the AI world, when you guys dig deep here, what is it that creates that negative atmosphere for AI, and why do companies fall flat with their efforts at times? I know you have a newsletter that kind of outlines the thought process of how to integrate. Is it the plan? Is it that they try to plug every single hole instead of, just where does it work? Where is it needed? What's the deal?
Yeah, so there are a few different, I'd say what I'm going to call them like key issues there, right? And there's probably a list, guys, of at least 10, right? But I can give you some of the biggest ones that I see, right? The biggest one first and foremost is they don't have a clear direction, right? AI, as we know, more than any other technology, is just moving so fast that there are thousands of new tools created every day, and I could create 10 today. I mean, like they'd be little things, right? But it's moving so fast, right? So if you're not laser focused, you're not going anywhere, right? So that clear direction, that's probably the biggest one. Second biggest one, and equally as important, is your leadership isn't aligned. Right? If leadership in a company isn't aligned and you've got people just going rogue and doing their own things or having, let's call it cliques of AI users, then you're really going nowhere as a company. You're not going to be able to incorporate it and really safely or probably effectively, right? Because it's a mindset. It's a whole thing. Like you have to change the way that your whole company thinks in order to do this right. Random tools being tried without a system. That's a big one, right? People are just kind of trying things. Who knows where they're putting your customer data, right? Trying to get some fast win. And then, people are told here's another one that I have seen before. And luckily my company that I work for, Clarity, is the opposite of this, but people are told to play with AI without support, right? You've got to give people support. You've got to keep it in your minds at all of your all-team meetings. You should be talking about it. You should be, guiding. You could have a handbook and policies, guys, but who the hell is going to read those, right? You need to have this stuff at the forefront and make sure that you're helping and allowing people to have a framework to use this stuff well. Yeah. So those are the big ones.
Yeah, Richie, I mean, it's huge, right? I mean, everyone is jumping on AI. Everyone wants to find the next AI technology to throw into their dealership, but without the plan, without everyone being
and I got to say this, there's a lot of guys out there. I just went to a major automotive company in Georgia spent there 3 or 4 days. And just let me say this. There's a lot of companies out there that say it's AI and it's automated. There's a lot of mobile apps that they're getting the data, okay, from the dealer. Mm-hmm. Now they say it's automated. I mean, AI. Now, it could be AI because now your AI is a marketing perspective. It's really machine learning.
Yes.
I've been in the machine learning business since what? '09, my partner bought Clickable at '06, which if you look up Clickable funding, that's why it was 36 million, because it was machine learning. Now, if you have data already, that's provided to you, right? All you're doing is just automation, asking questions based on the automation. Now,
Right.
where is that AI thing? It's not AI yet until it starts learning with the data. So you're misleading, and that's what they say. A lot of people, Richie, are misleading, and we already knew that. We've had podcasts before about that, about automation. There's no AI without automation. There's no automation. You know, you can't do it, right? And there's no AI with data. You have to either have the data or buy the data and create that. So all these things that people are saying that are AI are not, they're automation, like videos, like you put my picture on it and all that, and now it becomes whatever it is. That's not AI, that's automation.
Right.
Nobody likes to talk about automation no more. Nobody actually can sit down with you. Now, those videos are all AI. Everybody's using that as well as a marketing perspective,
Right.
right? On these platforms that are built already, and everybody is saying that, it's like if your stuff is out on Google, you go to AI, and when you write yourself down, you're going to show up.
Right.
If you're not on Google, how are you going to get it?
Right.
Take my daughter, that's a school teacher, and put her name on AI. Doesn't even know it.
Yeah.
What is that telling us? What is that telling us? It's automation. It
Yeah, it's
goes
not thinking
into
for
the
itself.
search,
Yeah.
and it converts
Yes.
all that. Then in your handheld, it's learning from you.
Right.
If it would be real AI, it would know everybody in the world.
Right. Right.
That's real artificial intelligence.
Little Cyberdyne action going on.
Right.
Yeah.
Now it starts learning. The process, it starts learning on the handheld. I put Rocky Bello, my daughter, this, that. It starts learning, right? It starts learning, and then I put this, that. Now it starts learning, and now it starts getting what you call optimized, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But AI is like, guys, come on, give me a break,
Yeah.
And they're misrepresenting products, and they're doing the wrong thing by the business owners,
Yeah.
by
Yep.
dealers, by non-dealers. And the funny thing is that the OEM sector knows that. Companies like the company I was with for 3 or 4 days, that people know that. So they're making like a fool out of themselves,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
because people knowing that. And now, as far as the marketing perspective, wait a minute, it's not really AI. And Michael, as an AI professional, right, that you are, and a CTO, what is AI? What is the blueprint of AI?
Yeah.
Data and automation.
Yep.
If you
Yeah.
don't have data, that's it.
You're sunk.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Friend shipped my car now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Gavin, right? Lee likes how I say that, right, Lee? I say that pretty good, right, Lee?
I do not hear the word ship.
I barely heard it.
My
Okay. I
car
barely heard it.
now.
Trying not to laugh.
Okay. He's got an AI platform. You know why I know it's real AI? Because of all the data that person bought in there. And now that data starts getting optimized. And then as you use it, it really starts learning.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why do we think ChatGPT put that whole thing for free for a long time? The $20, so everybody goes on it, so everybody uses it, so everybody. And once they hit that level, now it's really a machine learning. At the beginning, it wasn't. At the beginning, I used to call it the ultimate spinner. You used to put a blog on there, and it would create you
Right.
another blog. It's called the Ultimate Spinner. By the way, I used a thing called the Ultimate Spinner, right, in 2012, that you would download it on your computer. You couldn't have an app. It had to be Windows, and you would put a blog and it would spin it, right? And it was called that. If you look up the term Ultimate Spinner for content, that's what it was. In 2012, I had that.
Yeah.
Okay? But that's a whole different thing. This AI thing, people are confused between automation. Automation came into the world with Infusionsoft, which Clayton Mask, he came up with the automation. All right. Then ClickFunnels came up with automation. Then the automation started. It's really automation. I saw a lot of tools. It's automation.
Now, Mike, let me ask you
Yeah.
a question. Did you hear, and maybe this was rumor circulating, but I read a few articles that when they tried to shut down a version of ChatGTP, it tried to save itself. Was that true?
So this is such a great one. Yes, the story's true. Here is a no. The story's true. Hang on, let me give you more context, because here's the thing. That's a bit misleading, and
Yeah.
I've gotten to like almost an argument with the guy one time. Like we weren't gonna really fight, but like it felt really close, right?
Yeah.
And so he said, "Oh, ChatGPT, no, it deleted the code that would have removed it and all that stuff." And I said, yes. And I said, I don't even remember the guy's name, but I said, yeah, it did that. But that is in the context of a prompt. It's in a little box, guys. It was prompted to do something, and to preserve itself, yes, it deleted the code that would have done that, but it didn't make that. It didn't just decide to do that.
Save
It didn't just
myself, save my.
yeah, right. And I was
Yeah.
talking. It's funny that came up. I was talking to somebody about this just yesterday, and we're both technologists and know the difference. But a lot of people, I'll tell you, my 15-year-old actually asked me about that too, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Here, let me explain this to you. Right? Let me help you understand."
Exciting. It was exciting.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because you're thinking, "Oh, this is crazy,"
Here
right?
comes
So
Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah.
fact versus fiction is a really big deal. And Richie, what you're talking about. So I have a slightly different take on the whole, AI is what people are calling, for one, AI, artificial intelligence. Guys, we know this. All three of us know this. We're not there yet. Like, that's the whole thing.
Right.
That's like in the future, but yes, it's a marketing term. Everybody's talking about AI. Really, it's a combination, a set of tools and technologies. There's ML, there's automation flows, there's just all kinds of data flow, data tools, right?
Right.
These things are all put together, right? And Richie, funny enough, this is timely about the automation thing versus real AI and agentic AI. I just did an article 3 days ago in the AI Bytes newsletter, agentic AI versus AI agents versus workflows and automations. I've wrote that article at least 3 times, 3 different ways, because people, you're right, they think it's AI, but a lot of times it's just automation. And by the way, I love automation. I'm a big fan of automation. Been doing it for many, many years, right?
Exactly.
Like
Automation has grown massive amount of business based on the data that we all have. Has AI done that? No.
No, it's just a tool in the toolkit.
Exactly. But people are using, and what really is upsetting to me, and really I don't like that. I don't like misleading anybody.
Yeah.
And people with credibility out there, with huge credibility, are misleading, because I see their technology and I know it's not AI, it's automation.
Mm-hmm.
AI is data and automation. Yes. So what they have, what should be saying, is optimization to the road to AI. Why? Because when you have an app, and you have the data coming into that app, and you're asking stuff, and that data is coming into that app because you got feeds and you got inventory, you got all that stuff. Now that's important. Clickable, the VIN retention, I could basically say real easy, this is AI. And I don't. You know why it's not? Because it's automation. Because I can run a VIN report in 10 seconds. I showed that tool to somebody, says you should label this AI. I says, no.
It's not.
Why am I going to label that AI?
Right.
Yeah.
For what reason?
It can't change perspectives. You can't ask it the same thing every day, get the same data every day, and then decide the next day, I don't want that data. I want this. And it's going to be like,
what they say is, where it's AI is that it pulls everything in and it gives you where the cars are.
Yeah.
So it's considered an intelligent tool,
Yeah. It's not
an
artificial.
Intel tool. But just like when I worked at the Polk Company, we had 2,000 Intel tools
Right.
Mm-hmm.
that we did for the OEMs in Michigan. You remember, I mean, give me a break. All
Right.
right. But they weren't AI, these Intel tools. Just because you have an Intel tool does not mean that is AI.
Right.
How do you come up with
Yeah.
these things? Just the other day, I was there in this company and I had to call Experian, right?
Mm-hmm.
My good friend Experian, because I needed some information. And he told
Yep.
me, Richie, we don't have anything that's AI right now.
Right.
We have all automation. It's data.
Yep.
We've
And they have
been
a ton
around,
of data. Yep.
like we've been around since the Polk days. We have automation.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We have Pink Post, that technology. It's all automation. But people say that, with a whole different perspective. Like it's that, and it's very misleading to tell that to customers because then that doesn't work or
Right.
something
Yeah.
happens and they're putting a bad taste in people's mouth.
Right.
And these marketers are just talking about AI and AI. And we're not, Mike, you said it yourself, and I've been saying it for a long time. We're years away. I might not see it. I'm
Yeah.
61. I might
Right.
not see it, okay? Because we're years away. That new computer that's coming out, what is it?
Quantum computing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Quantum
When
computing.
that comes out and that hits the market in the first 5 or 10 years, it's gonna have AI.
Huge.
5 or 10 years when that comes out and it's as friendly as a laptop. Of these laptops today, like Apple or Microsoft or whatever,
Yeah.
now you're gonna have AI.
Doesn't burn your house.
Why? Because of the capacity of the computer.
Yeah.
We have AI, according to people, but our technology in the computers, guys, has not increased. So therefore, you don't. All you got is machine learning.
Right.
You've got
Machine
it is
learning,
100% machine learning. That's
right?
right.
Machine learning's been around,
Yep.
not now,
Right.
forever. Clickable
A
got it
really
in
long time ago. Yeah.
2006. We got it.
Right.
Okay, and I have a veteran in Vietnam that was a computer program. His name's Jim. All right, he's been on my show. He was a programmer. They had AI too.
Right.
It
Well, what we
wasn't AI,
call
it was
Yeah.
machine learning,
Yes.
popping in all the data.
right.
It's been around forever.
Mm-hmm.
So where are most companies, Mike, sitting on the maturity curve, as you called it?
Yeah, yeah. So I'd say that most. I don't know the percentages, guys, but I'm going to say I think that most people are somewhere in the middle. They're dabbling, right? They're letting their people use it. They're encouraging their people to use it, but they do not have, just like I said in the first part, right, a clear strategy. Probably all of their leadership buying in and understanding, right? So
Right.
I'd say they're at the now this is important to have the tinkerers in your business are probably the people who should be on that AI ambassador group I mentioned. So I
Right.
think people are tinkering, but I think from I talk to a lot of CEOs and founders. That's where my heart is. I really love talking to these people, especially small and medium business founders and CEOs. And either them themselves, and a lot of the people I talk to are kind of more tech forward, but a lot of the people that are in their groups, right, they're saying they're waiting on the beach. They see the waves coming in, and they're waiting to see what everybody. They're on that surfboard out there in the 3-foot waves, kind of
Right.
seeing what everybody else is doing, waiting for other people. And then I'd say it's a much smaller group, guys, that's out in those 10-foot waves, right? That's out there like, hey, they're kind of the I don't know, I'm not going to swear on here, but they're more daring, right? They're not less risk adverse, and they want to see what this is all about. But see, guys, here's the thing. AI is the 30-foot wave way out there that's coming in against everybody. And
Right.
there are only a few companies and a few people. It's a very small set that's going out there and paddling. Because, see, here's the thing. That 30-foot wave is going to crush everybody all on the beach, all those
Right.
other people I just talked about. And so you got to swim out to that wave. You got to surf on it, and you got to be just ahead of it, like where you feel like you're about to die. That's AI, man. And that's the ones that are forging ahead. Very small group, right?
Right. So now, how do they? And I know this might be a little repetitive because we've been talking about trips and drabs of this, but how would people get started? What are the steps that you take with people?
Yeah, so I'd say that the first thing that really that we do always is to talk with the leadership team, right? Get alignment, find out at a very high level, right? Like, where do we even care to go? What's going to help the business? Because, let's say you're a 20-year-old business, whatever you've been doing to operate for 20 years is probably still what you want to continue to do. It's your core competency, it's what your customers love about you. You need to keep those things. So
Right.
now it's figuring out at that leadership level, you build out the strategy that at the highest level, you define these dimensions, right? Like, what things do we want to, is it customer experience? Is it, we want to, be the best, be the best in this, or automation, right? That's another big one. That's a dimension that probably is really good for most companies, especially for internal systems, right? Because you want to build that efficiency so that you're driving your value, right? Because you're taking the cost of doing business down while bringing in more revenue and bringing in more volume. That's kind of the goal. So it starts with leadership. The very next thing is to really, and I call it like an AI Sherpa, right? You want somebody, either me or I have a bunch of partners that I work with, right? Get somebody that works with your business. If you're heavy on data, there's a certain Sherpa for you, right? If you're heavy on other things, right, there's going to be a person for you. But to find the right person that's going to work with your business, and then the first, next step is really to, like, hey, after we've talked to leadership, let's create a plan. Now, let a roadmap, a plan and a roadmap, looking at that together with that leadership. And then the very next step, guys, has to be right after, is build that AI ambassador team, right? Assess what tools are being used, have them, create, if you're using Trello for Asana, whatever you use, right? Create boards and make sure everything is organized and measured. Define the outcomes that you're looking for, right? Like, what are those outcomes, right? And so after that, right, once you got that AI ambassadors, there's one more layer I'll talk about before I stop talking, because I think it's really important, which is then you've got to use those AI ambassadors as you're carrying out that plan and strategy. You've got to get it out to everybody, right? If you don't already have it all team event every month or every quarter or whatever, you've got to plan, hey, we're going to put this together. We're going to, from the top, we're going to go ahead and make sure that we are enabling, because that's the whole framework thing, enabling our people. Now, here's one part of that I missed, and I'm going to step back to it because I think it's important, and I'm going to add it to my article. I wrote the article, but I'm going to actually add it before I publish it, which is start with a survey of leadership too. So you have that meeting with them, but they're not gonna think of everything in a 45-minute meeting, right? We know that. Then it's like the very next step is, like, before you can put that plan I talked about together, you do a survey of all the leadership supervisors. It's a standardized survey. I have one for people if they want something to start with, right? You've got to understand, what are their pain points? What are they spending a bunch of time on, right? What are their concerns? Also, what's their AI aptitude or AI aptitude now, right? What's their intelligence aptitude now about these tools? So you got to figure out where the company's at. Some companies might be much further ahead than others, but I know at Clarity, what I found was a lot of people were ahead because we're a technology company, but we had one department that was like, whoa, they have a very, we've got to get these people thinking about this and understanding this, right? Or they're just going to fall behind, right? Because it's too important, right? So those are kind of the main parts of that, of how people get started.
Yeah, Richie, right? We find it time and time again that people think everything is just plug and play. It's like, oh, we spend so much time. We ask our salespeople to make phone calls. They don't make phone calls, so plug in AI. And it's like, wait a minute, is it communicating what we need it to communicate? Is it targeted and communicating the right things to the right customers? Yeah, I mean, we see that all the time.
I know of one product that is plug and play.
Is that Vincent?
Which is called Domo Dashboards.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. But the back end that they have is massive, because they're one of our competitors, and I know the owner and all that stuff that he developed it back in 2006 or 7. He's plug and play, but he's only plug and play now in the medical field, in the financial field, in the automotive field, in certain areas, right?
Right.
Not in
Right.
all. Now, why is he plug and play? Because the back end that he developed was for those industry. That's why he's plug and play. I mean, you're talking
Yeah.
about $100 million, okay? That's plug and play. But right now, if you go to Clickable, we're only in the VIN retention in the automotive and the hedge fund community for data, right? For
Right.
reporting, for analytical data, right? But that's only because we have those two industries built.
Right.
So anybody that comes in now from automotive says, I want this. Okay, here you go. Boom. It's already built. Anybody that comes from the hedge fund companies that want analytics, like auto analytics, the hedge fund company, insurance companies, warranty companies, health insurance, all that stuff, right? So all those analytics we have, right? But
Yeah.
that's it. No more.
Yeah.
Right? Those are plug and play platforms, and the API that ChatGPT has, a lot of people are using it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's talk about data science a minute.
Sure.
When you have data, let's talk about the data that I have that I posted a video about the service, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you have that type of data that we have, and you bring in APIs from Experian, IHS, Carfax, it makes your data better,
Yes.
right?
Yes. It's enrichment is key, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
It makes your data better, right? Now you got real data
Yeah.
because you own part of it. You're just bringing the APIs to make it better. In other words, you're a factory of data.
Yeah.
So I went somewhere about 2 weeks ago and I met some people. Oh, no, that's not how you do it. Really? Explain to me how you do it. Because when you have APIs from companies like Carfax and that, it just makes that data so much more. It's like you're putting steroids on your own data.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
That's what you're doing. And a lot of people that do not know data science, let alone AI,
Mm-hmm.
that actually talk to you about AI and don't even know that,
Right.
right? So now, not knowing that, that's fundamentals, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
one of the most important fundamentals for data. A lot of people want to get into the data, so I'm sharing here this online so people really understand how to make it better. Yes, there's a cost to it, but man, when you put that data in front of somebody and
That's
you
right.
put your other data in front of somebody,
Dude, for
and
real.
you see the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I'll take it to my day job, right?
Right,
Communications, Richie.
right,
And
right. That's
this
why,
is where
yeah,
this
right.
comes into play, boys. So for one, we're a communications company, right? We have the CDRs, which is called detail record. We have the recording, right? Everybody has that. Everybody's had that for a real long time, right?
Yeah, right.
And but I'll tell you, we're using this new technology. Really, it's an IETF standard, so like a standard that was built about 3 or 4 years ago called VCons, Virtual Conversations. Now, this is structured data. These things go here, and other parts of it go here, right? And your
Right.
analysis goes here, and your parties and your dialogues, right? So, but still, that alone only gives us at the core the data that came in from our CDR and our recording, right? So
Right.
the conversation and then the details about when it happened and how it happened and all that, right? So that's where you absolutely have to, if to make something useful, you absolutely have to then. Now let's pull in the CRM data into that to enrich that more. Now
Right.
let's, and we know automotive, especially guys, man, they gotta have their CRM data in there. They gotta have
Right.
you gotta know it, right? You gotta either push to them or it's really a bi-directional. You gotta push, you gotta pull. So you gotta know about them in your system, and then you gotta let them know about you, right? So you
Right.
gotta push
Right.
those communications in. So that's all about it, data enrichment, right? Is like identifying the parties, identifying the conversation, and enrichment might be a coaching report. on the calls. That's where we found a lot of success at Clarity, both for our customers and for ourselves, right? We implement this stuff first, drink our own champagne. Is, hey, when a sales call happens, especially like a discovery, whatever, okay, we got Read AI Note Taker on there. Cool. I got a webhook that pushes that JSON data into an N8N workflow, does a coaching report, does a bunch of stuff, right? Alerts the people, hey, here's how you did, here's how you could do better, right? Those kind of things are invaluable for a company, right? So
Right.
just even those, and that's an automation, friends, right? It's actually automation with a little bit of ML because you're using the LLM, right? Or whatever to score. So enrichment is so important, Richie. So glad you brought that up because I love talking about that stuff, right? Like now I feel like you're way ahead of me because if you're using ML, right, in 2006. I'm a bit behind that, sorry, but I think it was around 2015 is when I started really realizing the power of it all, right? Computer vision was out, and then I was in a bunch of circles where we were doing functional programming, right? And in that area, natural language processing, I was like, man, all the really, really smart people that are doing functional programming are in the natural language processing. Well, the languages that I was using were pure functional languages. What that means is they're deterministic. It is what code, if for the same inputs, you get the exact same outputs, which means it's mathematical. And that in natural language process, we know that's how LLMs are working, right? I mean, it's not exactly, but that's what MLP is a piece of that, right? So I haven't been in it as long as you have, but I have been in tech as long, or that for 25 years, and the stuff that we're talking about here, not really new concepts, right? Like data enrichment. That's what we're doing a really long time ago too, without AI. With Experian's a great example of that. Hey, we have this conversation, pull in the Experian data. Maybe we route them to a different IVR, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
And I want to say this. There's a dealer group in Florida, big dealer group, over 140 stores from Daytona all the way to Miami. I got to say, they're not interested in AI. And I know that because one of the CDPs tried to tell him about AI. That killed the deal of 100 and something stores.
wow.
Okay? Because the guy said, I'm not interested in that. And then he says, no, it's more like automation, the text. And that ruins your credibility. You got to first understand, when you're in sales, you got to first understand the prospect.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, this is a CEO that said that, some people are smarter than you think they are. And you tell them that, and it's like, you don't know what he's thinking. You don't know why he said that. Maybe somebody told him that there's no such thing, to be careful. They're just doing marketing for you. They're trying to get money. You got to be careful, Just like we know, the whole world knows.
Yeah.
Or a good part of it. Okay,
right.
especially if you're in business and you need to run your business and you need to see what's happening in your business. You're going to start paying attention and you're going to start doing research and say stuff. And if you have some limited knowledge, you're still going to figure it out.
Yeah.
I have Clickable for a long time, so I was able to figure it out because I was part of that process in '09 with machine learning. With our automated system, machine learning, I was one of the first guys that had Infusionsoft in Clayton, Mass. Is a good friend of mine from Arizona. So I've been around with these guys for a long time. And plus my track record of the data side is a killer, right? So that part. So, you have to be careful what you do and what you say, because sometimes it's not really necessarily going to help a dealership, but it's going to confuse everybody. The other thing, you're going to make everybody worried, like the human side of AI. You're going to make people worried that they're going to start losing it. You got to be very, very careful how you position when you start selling into the B2B sector. If you're doing something else, whatever. But, I mean, it's whatever. But, the data part is key. You guys really want to build AI strong? Use what I tell you. Get your data. Get the API that can compare with any other company. Build that data And now when you got that packaged up, boom,
Yeah.
now you hire yourself a real company that knows how to develop machine learning.
Right.
And now that machine learning is great. There's a reason why ChatGPT is out there with their API. They want a gazillion people to use their API.
Yes.
Because the more they use it, the more it grows. And the more the company grows. You know?
Right.
That's why they offer that API for nothing. And it's
Yeah.
interesting how that whole thing spun into all these other different products
Yeah, absolutely.
without us realizing it was going on. But the real AI, that what we think in our heads, it's not out there yet.
Right.
No.
That's
No.
what people gotta
We'll
understand.
know. We'll know when it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's not enough data to drive it. And
Yeah.
you have AI, right? And then you got the receiving end, which is your laptop, your computer. These machines are not made for that.
No. No. And when is that moment? Where is that line where it could become self-aware? That's
Right.
Right, right.
that's
Right.
yeah. Is that possible?
Exactly. Exactly. And the thing is, I don't necessarily completely rule it out, guys, but just like the story we started off early on in this episode, which was, hey, ChatGPT deleted code that was going to remove it, right? It didn't do that in a self-aware way. It
Right.
did that like any, to Richie's point, automation. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
exactly not, but it's a chain, right? It starts here in a
Right.
very narrow context. It did not do that on its own. Did
Right.
not make that decision. Like I think that far before AI, we have real AI that's self-aware. Far before that, we are going to have bad actors use. It's not that AI is gonna. In my mind, AI is not going to become self-aware. That moment probably won't happen before bad actors have used it in such a way that maybe destroys us in a different way,
Exactly right.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
Where is that point at which we feed too much into it and
Yes.
we mess ourselves up? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know
Yes.
about self-aware is almost like is the God particle has to hit. Like
Right.
I can't fathom what that is, but maybe with quantum computing and pulling from
Yes.
different dimensions,
That's it.
I agree
we
with
have
that. I
That's
agree
it.
with that. But see,
yeah.
I was in a talk. I didn't do the talk, but I was in a talk at a tech conference 2 weeks ago about quantum computing and about programming and quantum computing. By the way, that's wild, right? I've been programming for 25 years. It is a whole set of things. It's not ifs and ors. It's at nos and sops and all these other, like, it's nuts, right? The gates
Yeah.
that things have to go through.
Yeah.
But in my mind, if quantum gets to a certain point, and we have the AI tech, right? Like, or machine learning altogether with that, that's the only way in my mind that it can accelerates out of
Right.
this dimension that we're in now and somehow take it a different way. So that I think that maybe those two things will hit around the same time, but that's my take too, honestly, on
Yeah.
it. So
Oof.
So you want to know something? I'm going to say this. I don't discount the thing with the AI. What I do say, and not because of my experience as a technology guy or as a data guy, my experience of life on Earth. Period. Earth has an evolution. Okay,
mhm.
you meet somebody, the evolution comes in. That evolution comes in. That evolution comes in. It's an evolution. We're not no way near at evolution for AI to be self-aware or all the stuff that people are coming up with, just stories, right?
Mhm.
It's impossible. ChatGPT came out what 3 years ago. It's
About that.
impossible. The evolution has to come. It was like when we had horses. How long did it take for cars?
That's right. The horse car thing, I love that
Yeah,
one, by the way.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Give me a break already, guys.
Yep.
Okay, the evolution is not there yet,
Right.
and I'm not saying it because of my experience. I'm saying it because of just my common sense and my life experience.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why I'm
Yeah.
saying it. Okay, that's it. Because there is an evolution on Earth, because the Earth has an evolution every day.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you get up, people don't even know this. If you get up at 4 o'clock or 4:30 in the morning, that's called the blue hour. The blue hour is at 4:30 in the morning and also at night before the sundown and sunup, right?
Hmm.
Why? Because that's our evolution.
Right.
Blue hour. People don't really, it's an evolution, it's everything has an evolution, and we're not there with what people are saying. And a person that forget about my experience and forget about my knowledge,
Hmm.
the evolution of Earth where I live, and I'm 61 years old, and knowing that everything on Earth is only temporary.
Hmm.
Yes, that's right.
Everything on Earth is temporary, goes away. Everything. From your life, from the beginning to your end. We have a beginning and an end. So, what
Yeah.
does that tell you? That there's nothing concrete, everything is temporary. And if you don't realize that, and then you realize the evolution, you say, well, wait a minute, this makes sense. And forget about the knowledge that I have in data, forget about the knowledge that I have in automation.
Hmm.
It's not there yet. And like I said, the horse, how long did it take
Right.
for Henry Ford to come up with a car
Right.
with the panels of wood? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long did that take? Okay.
Right.
Well, that's how long that's going to take. We think that it's going fast because it's technology. And sometimes it's hard for us to grasp what's going on, especially for guys like me, right? At my age group, bro. But I keep doing it because I'm a technology guy, right?
Right.
But it's hard for the average guy that's 62 to 65. It's very hard to grasp it, okay?
Hmm.
For guys like Lee, it's much easier to grasp it. For his son, it's much easier to grasp it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But as that speed starts coming every day, you see, the Earth situation is like this. It's like persistent, wears down resistant. It's like that little
That's
drop of
right.
water every day,
Heck yeah, man.
bang, bang, bang.
Right.
And with time, this is what happens.
Hmm.
That little drop, that little drop. You want to be a drop of water than a big, massive, like whatever, because it's every day. The consistent, consistent wears down resistance. And that's what's happening now. But in that process, there's a lot of people that are misleading others, and it's really a shame because they're not letting the evolution really like come in. People to take this knowledge in
Right.
and understand what is really going on. And now people start investing more in that. People start spending more time in that because now I got to learn this. I got to try to learn this, right? Now
Right.
it's not about that. Now everybody thinks they already know it. Everybody thinks they already figured out. It's the old saying, when you're green, you grow.
Right.
Hmm.
Everybody thinks I got to figure out. I'll write this. I'll prompt it. I can get that to do anything. Well, that's not the only thing. That's just the end user part.
Yeah.
By the way, I want to figure out their whole system. That's what I want to figure out.
Right.
Right. Right.
That whole automation. I don't care about prompt it here and I'll write that. Okay, great. That's for the end user. I don't want to be the end user. I want to figure out how it is so I can learn it to
Yeah.
see how I can put sort of that infrastructure in my business so it makes me money,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
right?
sure.
That's what I want to learn.
Yeah.
So, and people, some people have had bad experience with these companies and some people haven't, but they're not giving the time for the people to take it in. Because, like you talk to me, like I have that problem sometimes with my family. They talk to me, they think I'm not paying attention. It's a process you have up here, right?
Yeah.
They want me to answer them right away. Okay. People that know me know I don't answer right away. Why? Because I have to digest it
Yeah.
Same.
and put it in my thought process. My thought process might be slower than yours,
Yeah.
but it still works for me.
Yeah.
Okay. So I might not answer you right away. You know, people are confused. They think listening has to do with responding,
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
and it really doesn't.
Yeah.
Listening has to do with understanding and putting it in your head and thinking about it. Because if
Yeah.
we would go to war, if we would go and have a war with someone, and we would want to just respond on anything in the battlefield, we'll all be dead.
Yes.
People don't understand that. You know, I have to think and I have to figure out. And then they ask you the question, the same question 10 different ways. You know, when they do that to me, I go outside and I smoke about 3 cigars. And if I gave up drinking a long time ago, but they almost push me to drink. Because
Yeah.
they want that answer now. Well, I don't have the answer.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I have a partner, a business partner that always wants the answer. And then he asks you this way, that way. I said, you're asking me the same thing. Do you want me to lie to you?
Yeah. Let me
Because I
process. Let me
will.
process.
I
Yes.
will lie to you.
Yeah.
Okay? If you keep doing that. And that's the problem. People don't understand like this AI thing. They really need to take a look at it. And it's gonna get aware. And it's gonna get that. All you gotta do is wait for that evolution because it's gonna get real complicated and real big.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not there yet. Take the benefit of what's there and learn how you can contribute to get it there.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep
For sure.
learning this AI because this that we have here that's called AI is just the beginning
Just the
of
beginning.
something that's going to make your life great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Your life great. I went to a restaurant on the road. I think I sent Lee the video. They have robots delivering you the food.
Yeah. That's getting more common.
yeah.
Right? I was in what state was it? I was in Georgia. You order it there. It was an Indian restaurant. I love Indian food. You order it there, beep, 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 beep. It writes everything. Beep. It prints out what you're getting.
Yeah.
It goes to and it comes back and it hands it to you.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yep. Yeah.
8 or 9 years ago, Bill Gates said in Dubai, you're going to see things flying, walking around Earth that are not humans. We're not being invaded
mm-hmm.
by anybody.
Mm-hmm.
This is robotic technology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing it on the road more and more. A car wash had that robotic technology
Mm-hmm.
with a menu of what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Took your money and went to the next guy. So we're getting into the robotics in a very big way. You see that? That's getting handled really, really sharp, the robotics.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
robotics has a lot to do with AI. Once we got that
Oh yeah.
robotic stuff figured out, all those things that are going around, they're getting data. They're getting data, and the airports say
There
have
are.
to, right now. Because if
Yes.
on Earth we got all these things going around and getting data, oh, the AI is going to, then that's when that AI that Lee says is going to be aware.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because now we got all these AI things and we got all these robots going around and getting information.
Yeah.
That robot tells you what people are ordering,
Yep.
what they're buying from the menu, so they can manage that food better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the scheduling of their staff and all that stuff so they know when they're busy or not. That's going to be AI. Okay.
Yeah.
Now that's robotics. You know, you need
Right.
robotics for AI.
Yeah. So, yeah, Mike, with all these thoughts that we're rattling around here on the podcast, whether people have already dabbled and taken their first steps or they're looking to take their first steps, how should they learn more about you? How should they reach out to you? How quickly can the ball start rolling?
Yeah, absolutely. Do I have enough time to just go through like three basic, I'm going to call them frameworks for using AI that I can give people tips, or I can do that at the end, whichever is better for you guys.
Yeah, no, we're probably
Okay,
going to be
cool.
wrapping up in a few here, so go for it.
Perfect. So I'm going to say one thing. Persistence. I'm a big fan of persistence, guys. I've always been a persistent person. I love in the movie The Founder with Michael Keaton. There's the whole persistence thing. It's talking about that and how he like built up, and it was like he was a failing sales guy, right? And then he's like really the one who took McDonald's big, right?
Right.
So that a second thing I'm going to say is that in the world, it's increasingly important to put space. You mentioned it, Richie, and I do the same thing. I'll literally sometimes say thinking like a little loading bar. Sometimes people, because I got to think about it. I'm not just going to answer you super fast. And somebody asked me one time, they said, man, I got the CEOs breathing on my back. How do you suggest that? Not our CEO, but he was from a different company. And I'm like, dude, you have to put space in between you and that pressure, right? There's got to be room to breathe, and it will be understood why you did that later, right? And you'll be more well respected for it, but you got to do it. You can't just answer, right? So to your point. So for this, I did want to share, so I'll share how you can get a hold of me first, I guess, which is great. So I'm Mike at antics.tv. I am all over LinkedIn. I'm talking to people. I have plenty of people emailing. There's going to be new guests on the show. Matter of fact, I kind of have a backup right now. I think we have 4 guests lined up that we're going to be recording with on the Artificial Antics show. So email or LinkedIn, either of those ways, going to be perfect. I also have a booking link that email me. I'll send it back to you. I'd love to talk with people. We can get 30 minutes scheduled on a calendar, and maybe I talk to whoever's initiating the conversation for your business, right? Normally, that's going to be a founder, CEO, or COO. It's usually that person, because if a company has a CTO, they're not going to be the ones reaching out to me. Generally, it's going to be more the executive level, right? That's going to be reaching out, that needs that help. And so, we can get something on the books probably within a couple weeks. And I'm just going to mention the next piece of that, right, is I'll sit down with that person or even a group of people, talk to them, figure out like what makes sense, right? And then I have a network of I'm gonna call them AI Sherpas, for lack of a better words, right? That Sherpa that I'm gonna help assign to your business, right? And we're gonna get you, we're gonna get your business adopting AI responsibly. Walk through these steps. There's more as well that I'm going to publish an article pretty much right after we get out of here, which is all the stuff we talked about here, and then go in a little more in depth. Mm-hmm. So 30-minute consultation is where they start. Mike at antics.tv or LinkedIn, either of those I'm super responsive on. And then the frameworks that I wanted to share before we wrap up here. So there are 3 key things, and these are not, hey, I'm going to give you a super prompt, guys. Listen to this prompt. It's so cool, right? It's not about prompts. It's not about tools. This stuff is cycling way too fast for that, guys. Don't think about tools. Don't think about prompts as like, that's my silver bullet, because it's going to be gone tomorrow. It will change. It's a mindset. It's systems thinking, right? I think somebody mentioned that earlier. You need to think about systems and how they all work together, because the pieces of technology, they change every day, literally every day. So the first thing I'm going to go through is, and this is for a way to use AI effectively, it's the 10-80-10 method, right? So split 100% into 3 pieces. The first 10 is you setting the vision, right? So if you're prompting, let's say ChatGPT, set the vision, right? Think it out. Don't say build me a CRM or do some really generic thing. Think out the vision, hit that button, right? The middle 80, that's where AI is going to do something. It's going to do the heavy lifting. Right. Now, the last 10 is really important. This is the humans in the loop, fellas, the human side of AI. You got to look at what comes out of that and verify. Ensure the outputs meet the standards. And, call bunk on it. Go have another LLM analyze it and say, is this right? Do some research. You got to verify. And then you might have to go back to the first 10 and refine your prompt with that same set of data. It's a very iterative process. Your first prompt, don't accept the first outputs, right? That's pretty silly in most cases. Right. So that's 10-80-10. The second is MAC, or mentor assistant critic. So what do I mean by that? So if you're doing a prompt, you could let AI teach you something. Like, maybe you don't know about design and you want to understand more about it. So you say, hey, what are some design principles, right? And you have it up. Maybe it creates you some designs, and then you have that output. and you use it as an assistant then to create that output or that curriculum to teach you something, right? Or to show you something. And then at the end, that critic is really important. This is that last piece, right? You scrutinize it, but you might not know. So have it scrutinize itself. Send it to another LLM. Hey, criticize, scrutinize your work. And let's get to the real answer. And then again, it's about iteration. The last one is all about iteration too, which is the director mindset. Now the director is, I'm sitting in the director's chair. AI doesn't have the wheel, right? Like I have the wheel. I could call cut as many times as I want. I need to provide clear direction like a director would. I need to ensure that, the tools are understanding my vision, my objectives, and then, hey, let's request multiple takes. If it doesn't get it right the first time, it probably won't.
Right.
Don't feel free to continue directing. You're in control. We have to stay in control. Humans in the loop, humans in control, right? And that's actual intelligence, which does exist, guys. So those are those three things.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Awesome. Mike, thank you so much for being on the show. Everyone out there, it's mike@antics.tv. Like he said, shoot him an email. He'll shoot you back a calendar, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome. And Richie, any final words? Oh, can't hear you, Rich. You're on mute.
I can't have final words because if I do, I talk so much that I'll be here another hour.
Richie's gonna filibuster us. You know what you need to do? You need to go be the enforcer to whoever those loud people are near you. I swear, I saw Richie. He's like, man, I'm going to take care of these. No, I'm just kidding. One other quick note. So on LinkedIn, it's just Mike Onslow, Mike ONSLOW. So you can hit me on LinkedIn, and I'd be happy to have discussions. Really love talking to people about machine learning, technology in general, right? This is a set of tools, right? And I'm starting to call it, instead of AI, guys, I'm calling it intelligence technology, because that's really what this is, guys.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
The other thing I gotta say is, Michael, I would love you to come in Monday, Game Face Monday. Lee's got the schedule. Why? To educate it. I want to make it like an educated thing, because some deals don't even want to use it because they don't even understand it. And I need you for that, to come in and explain it to the dealer audience. And as you like the dealer audience a lot.
I do. I love them. I'd be happy to do that. And I just want to say before we finish, thank you so much for having me on the show, guys. I've been excited about it. And yeah, man, it's just great. I love getting the word out. I love making AI approachable. Thanks for the opportunity for that, guys. Can't wait to talk more. Happy to join you on Game Face as well.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Yep. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thanks to everyone for watching and listening. Have a good one.